Let's understand how to build a realistic drawing with pencils. In this short 6-minute video, we will focus on the shading process and not the base drawing. There are many videos on my channel that teach and discuss freehand drawing, proportions, and anatomy. The shading process is actually understanding values. I use a Canson paper, HB and 4B pencils in 0.5 and 2.0 size. I use mechanical pencils, but you can use regular pencils, it doesn't really matter. I also use some sponges and brushes and erasers. The first thing that we need to do is deciding on the darkest dark and then the lightest light in our drawing. These does not have to be the same values as they appear in the reference photo because we draw relative values. I'm using a 4B pencil and drawing some of the places that are the darkest dark values. In my reference, these are the side of the head, the eyes, the nostrils, under the chin, etc. The plan is not to get darker than that in any other place in the drawing. Once I mark these areas, I move to the range just below that and next to the darkest dark. Building this value is a gradual process. We continuously compare this value to the darkest dark. Then we do the same with the mid value that is next to that value. We draw it gradually and continuously, comparing this new value to the value next to it. Throughout the process, I get up and evaluate the values from a distance. I use the cross-hatching technique and pressing lightly. When we look at the details, we see the anatomy of the face. We need to pay attention to the various changes in values and folds that the skin has. So on one hand, we are focusing on values, but on the other hand, we are focusing on the up and down changes in the skin. It's almost like a pianist's left hand and right hand playing together. When drawing the hair, we need to pay attention to clumps of hair. However, in order to add realism to the drawing, certain hair elements and especially single hair areas needs to be drawn as single hair. The idea is to draw them in the direction they grow, pressing a bit harder at the start and much lighter as you draw the line. Pay attention also to carefully shade the area under the hair before you start. The area under the nose is dark, so always compare the value to the value next to it and do not go over the darkest dark. It is important to go back to the side area of the face and lower the value even further to accentuate the three-dimensional quality of the drawing. Draw the lips carefully and evaluate the dark area in the corner of the mouth. Build them gradually and do not go too dark quickly. Evaluate from a distance and continue slowly. The background is very important. Do not draw it as an afterthought. It helps bring the portrait forward, so take your time and lower the value slowly step by step. Try not to rush the process. Building the highlight in the hair helps increase the realistic quality of the hair. Remember that the highlight is never clean white. In fact, the highlight is quite dark. So erase it slowly and try not to overdo it. The hardest part is the highlights in the face. They are not clean white and they require a very delicate treatment. So draw the hatching lines very lightly and step away from the drawing more times to evaluate, because things we see up close are very different than how we see them from far. In order not to have a flat drawing, always increase the contrast in the drawing, much more than they appear in your reference photo. You can use a paper to place on the drawing while you draw, in order to prevent smudging the drawing with your hands. Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Please press like and comment as it helps support my channel. See you in the next video.